Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC on transfer deadline day. That is it. No more business can be done until January. Teams are going to have to make the most of the squads that they have. Craig Burley and Shaka, who are we stuck with? Alexander Isak is going to Liverpool. It is done. It is official. Great statement from Newcastle. Talk about a bitter ex. Newcastle United can announce the sale of striker Alexander Isak to Liverpool for a significant British record transfer fee. The Sweden international joined the Magpies from Real Sociedad in 2022, made 109 appearances in all competitions. Julien joins us. We'll be hearing from Jules in a moment. It's done, Craig. We've talked about it a lot from the moment that he didn't play in the first pre-season game, remember, where Eddie Howe said he was protecting him.
And now it's Celtic.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
Sent him home. It was best for the dressing room.
Yes.
Well, I think what we've seen in this transfer window, not that it's any news to us, is that if you throw the toys out the pram, if you kick and scream, if you disobey club rules and regulations and contracts, you're getting what you want, pretty much. Johan Visa, Gyökeres did it at Sporting to an extent, and the owner at Sporting got irate with both him and Arsenal. Alexander Isak has done it, and he's got what he wants. So there's a bit of player power in there. Yes, money talks. Of course it does, and Liverpool have paid a huge amount of money for him. But there's been a lot of sort of players stomping their feet to get what they want in this transfer window. And it's not a good look for the game. I have to say that most of them have got what they wanted. Mark Guehi being the opposite. It seems he did not get his move. We'll talk about that. But he sort of went about his in a sort of quiet, unassuming, classy way, it seems. But the others have, whether you like it or not, have stomped and shouted and banged their fist and refused to train and refused to turn up because they wanted to get this deal done, Alexander Isak being the main one, and he's got what he wanted. So, I think this whole transfer could have been handled better by all sides and handled quicker, but it's been a real mess. But I do feel, in a sense, for Newcastle, in some way, they've got a big boatload of cash here, but, they've tried to do things properly in this transfer. Alexander Isak has not, but he's got what he wanted, he's got his move. And Liverpool have got a very good player, let's be honest about it.
As I mentioned, we talked about Isak a lot, and we'll talk about what that means for Liverpool going forward in a moment. But Craig brought it up, and I want to get to it because I think it's one of the most interesting things that happened today, Jules. The fact that Mark Guehi is still at Crystal Palace.
Yeah, that's right. That's the big disappointment, I think, for Mark Guehi himself, and then for Liverpool Football Club, who thought this was done. He passed his medical, all personal terms had been agreed. The agreement between the two clubs was on as well, and Crystal Palace just said we need a replacement. They signed a very talented young French centre-back from Toulouse, JD Convo, but they wanted a more experienced, more ready, I guess, Premier League centre-back, and they wanted Igor from Brighton. They just found an agreement with him and with the club. He went to do his medical, and then something went wrong, and that deal collapsed. And after that, they just had to make a call. Either let Guehi still go and get the £35 million from Liverpool, but then will be quite light defensively for a team that plays with a back three, or keeping Guehi even in the last year of his contract with the possibility of him leaving in January, so you get a bit of money, or going for free at the end of the season. So they decided to cancel this deal to Liverpool, which leaves Liverpool a little bit light at the back. We said that there's Joe Gomez, of course, and the young Leoni, the young Italian player from Parma, but that's it with Konate and Van Dijk, and Konate on the last year of his contract. And for Crystal Palace, they wanted some money because they didn't want Guehi to run down his contract. So in the end, it's pretty loose situation for both Crystal Palace, Guehi, and Liverpool in the end.
Why, I don't understand here. Why have Liverpool left this so late?
Wait, no. I just want to talk about this juxtaposition of morals here. You brought it up, yeah? Well, you've got Alexander Isak, who you've all condemned with the way that he's gone about his business, and he's got it. He's got what he wanted. Mark Guehi's been the ultimate professional. Scored yesterday.
Yeah, but Mark Guehi will be fine. I'll tell you why.
But is this not good guys finishing last?
But no, he won't. Mark Guehi will get... Listen, Mark Guehi will do 6 months at Crystal Palace, could leave in January, or will do 12 months or 10 months, whatever it is, and he will leave on a free. Mark Guehi is in his mid-20s. He's not even getting towards... He's not even at the peak years of his career. He's got plenty of money in the bank in that sense. He will get, on a free transfer, if that's what it is, a huge move. A huge move. He just hasn't got what he wanted at the time. Alexander Isak was in a long-term contract, so that's why he was kicking and stomping, because he thought he was going to be stuck there, because he signed a 6-year contract 3 years ago. Mark Guehi is slightly different, as I mentioned, because he will leave, there'll be an unbelievable amount of takers for him next summer on a free transfer. But I don't understand is if Liverpool really wanted him, they had to give Crystal Palace time. Why are we on the final day of the deadline trying to make a move that everybody's been talking about for 6 weeks? If they wanted this Guehi deal, it wasn't super expensive because of his contract situation, they should have sat down with Crystal Palace and bashed this out 4 weeks ago before the Community Shield or anything like that and said, look, this is done, here's the money, you have a month to go and get your replacement. They did not, and that's why they did not get Mark Guehi. But I don't really feel too bad for him because, as I say, I think at the end of the day, barring injury, some big club somewhere will come along and take him in a bargain-free transfer next summer.
So just because he's got a year left on his contract, he's going to move. But
yes, he's going to move.
Isak had to act the way that he did because he's got 3 years left, and Newcastle could hold him ransom.
He didn't have to. That's why he chose to.
Is it not slightly concerning that Alexander Isak has set a precedent now?
Yes.
For what players should do to get a move?
The short answer to that is absolutely yes, and that's a concern. And kind of given where the money is in the game today, can you afford just to carry a player, let's use Alexander Isak as the example, just to make a point, albeit a very expensive point. But the trouble is that standard has now been set. Certainly if you have longer-term contracts. You perform well for a football club, you get this huge contract, a long-term payout, and then if a couple of years into it, somebody else comes knocking, you know how to act. Guehi, for me, I'm with Craig. I hope only the best for him. Let's remember, Arsenal were linked with Guehi last summer at probably twice the price that Liverpool were prepared to pay at 35 million. All of a sudden, this time around now, a year to go, 35 million. Crystal Palace still turning it down. Glasner saying that he needs a centre-back. And I think Crystal Palace have some of the blame to share here. This link has been going on, has been public knowledge for quite some time. And as much as Liverpool have left it this late again, you just wonder if Crystal Palace didn't have their own list prepared that it would come to this, or anticipating that it would come to this. Now, whatever happens, maybe he moves for 10 million in January or for free. But again, he has made it known that he's not going to sign a new contract. So he will be fine whichever way. Centre-backs, certainly in this league, are in short supply. And he's a proven talent. He'll get what he's due eventually.
I think Oliver Glasner was okay to. And by the way, Mark Guehi next summer, if everything goes well this year, will have a clamber of clubs.
Absolutely.
He'll get a bumper payday. Crystal Palace probably won't get much unless they sell him in January. But I would imagine that Oliver Glasner was reluctant, but understanding that Eze and Guehi were going to go. Right? I think, and it's a hypothetical here, I think Crystal Palace and Steve Parish, knowing how they operate, would still have done this deal at 35 million or whatever it is without getting the adequate replacement in because they want the money. But I'm thinking up here and looking at the stock that their manager has. I think if that happened, Oliver Glasner would have walked out the door. He said, not only have you sold my two best players, you sold my best player last year in Michael Elise. Right. You've sold Eze, now you're sending Guehi. I've got no replacement. Right? My hands are behind my back, now you've tied them. And I think Palace would probably have done this if Glasner had been in such a strong position with this club, which he has earned through performances and their success. I honestly think he's gone in and gone, if he goes with nobody coming in, I'm going. And Crystal Palace have had to renege on that.
Give us the background to this, Jules.
Yeah, Craig is spot on. There was a big meeting tonight at the club, and that's exactly what Glasner said. And to be fair, we are with him on that point because, like I said, the young Frenchman who arrived, Paris born and bred, which makes him extra special, but very talented. But 19, he just turned 19 in July, so he's not a replacement for Guehi. He might be in 2 or 3 years' time, very good, but not now. So Glasner was like, well, I'm left with Lacroix and Richards, basically that. And then Lerma can play as centre back, I guess. You could find maybe Klein can play as centre back, but this is not good for a club that is also in Europe. So they had to exactly do that. They had to cancel, probably against their will, that deal for Mark Guehi, keep him, and then see what happens in January or next summer.
It's Liverpool that have missed out here.
What does that mean?
Yeah. I bet Stevie, if he's watching, will be thinking that because he was more desperate for a Guehi than an Isak. Because of the situation, if Konate gets injured or something happens. And so they have missed out more, because for all the reasons that Shaka and I have mentioned, and Jules, barring some nasty happens to the player in terms of the injury, he will get his big move. What Liverpool have, on the face of it, is a lack of depth in the centre-half position. Now, nobody's going to come out and feel sorry for them, because they've spent a fortune this summer. But if we're picking the bones out of certain areas of the side, then centre-half is a position where they could be vulnerable. There's no doubt about that, and Guehi is a quality footballer. So they've missed out on... And that could be the difference at the end of the day. We saw a very close game over the weekend, not a very good one, with Arsenal and Liverpool. And I think we saw within the game, although we'll see better matches over the season, I think we got a good glimpse about how tight it could be this year between these two. And both have still got a lot of room for improvement. And so that Guehi transfer for Liverpool would just have, given Arne Slot a lot more options in that back line.
To that point, I just cannot believe that Crystal Palace, going back to Crystal Palace, did not expect an 11th hour bid and didn't prepare for that 11th hour bid. No, they were within their rights to turn that down. If they decide he can see his contract out and walk away for free, they are well within their rights. But to the point, and about Liverpool, especially Konate kind of coming off late on in the game against Arsenal, it shows how thin Liverpool are. And this early in the season, again, with everything that's to come, this expanded Champions League format and the cup games, you just wonder, will that be Liverpool's undoing? Well, I want to say yet again, but certainly in the Champions League, faltered a lot sooner than they would have hoped or thought.
So if you've got 4 or 5 centre-halves, you can make an 11th hour bid and you can send another one out on loan or do something like that. But when you are a little thin, that is the position where you are a little thin. You've got 2 full-backs on that side, you've got 2 full-backs on that side, you've got a bunch of midfielders, you've now got a couple of strikers who can play in different positions, you've got wide players galore, so you're covered. Where you're not covered properly is a centre-half position.
Yeah.
Kwanzaa's gone, it's Konate, it's Van Dijk, it's Joe Gomez, right? Why then, and this is my point, why then do you leave it?
Yeah.
Unless there's a valid reason that I don't know about, why do you take the chance and the risk to leave it to the 11th hour when it's a position that's vitally important? That's what I don't understand from a Liverpool perspective.
And what would Liverpool's response be to that, Jules?
That they signed Leone, who they really believed in. But again, he's 18 years old. He played 14 games for Parma last season in Serie A. So that makes your 4th centre-back, really, with Gomez, Konate and Van Dijk. And at least, if you count Leone, they covered. You've got backups for the 2 centre-backs positions. And that's why, but Leone cost almost as much, a little bit less, than what Guehi would have cost. So I don't know. I think it's a fair point to raise. Did they play this on purpose so late to try to get a bit cheaper, maybe? But then you were playing with fire, really, because as we saw, if it collapsed, had they started this move yesterday instead of last night, for example, like earlier yesterday morning instead of last night, last time when we were finishing the show with Craig, one of the last questions was on this Liverpool dealings, and I said Newcastle have opened the door now for Isak. This gone through, and the Palace and Liverpool are talking about Guehi now. Maybe 12 hours more, and they would have done that, and Igor would be a Crystal Palace player or another centre back, and we would not be talking about this deal that fell through.